जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यमुनातीरावनचारी। यमुनातीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यमुनातीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 2, Text 11. Kim sambhritam ruchirayor dvijashringayoste madhye krusho vahasi yatra drushi shrutame. Pankorunassurabhir atmavishana idrik येनाशमं शुभगमे सुरभिकरोषि। किं संभृतं रुचिरयोर्द्विजशृङ्गयोस्ते मध्ये कृशो वहसि यत्र दृशि श्रिता मे। पंकोरुणस्सुरभिर आत्मविशान ईदृग् येनाश्रमं सुभगमे सुरभिकरोषि। Ladies, please. Kim, what? Samhritam, filled. Ruchirayo, very beautiful. Dvija, O Brahmana. Shringayoho, within two horns. Te, your. Madhye, in the middle. Krishaha, thin. Vahasi, you are carrying. Yatra, wherein. Drushi, eyes. Shrita, attached. Me, my. Pankaha, powder. Arunaha, red. Surabhi, fragrant. Atmavishane, on the two horns. Idrik, such. Yena, by which. Ashramam, place of residence. Subhaga, O most fortunate one. Me, my. Surabhi karoshi, you are perfuming. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Agnidhra then praised Purvachitti's raised breasts. He said, My dear Brahmana, your waist is very thin, yet with great difficulty you are carefully carrying two horns, to which my eyes have become attracted. What is filling those two beautiful horns? You seem to have spread fragrant red powder upon them, powder that is like the rising morning sun. O most fortunate one, I beg to inquire where you have gotten this fragrant powder that is perfuming my ashrama, my place of residence. Purport. Agnidhara appreciated Purvachitti's raised breasts. After seeing the girl's breasts, he became almost mad. Nevertheless, he could not recognize whether Purvachitti was a boy or a girl, for as a result of his austerity, he saw no distinction between the two. He therefore addressed her with the word Dvija, O Brahmana. Yet, why should a Dvija, a Brahmana boy, have horns on his chest? Because the boy's waist was thin, Agnidhara thought he was carrying the horns with great difficulty, and therefore they must be filled with something very valuable. Otherwise, why would he carry them? When a woman's waist is thin and her breasts are full, she looks very attractive. Agnidhara, his eyes attracted, contemplated the heavy breasts on the girl's thin body and imagined how her back must sustain them. Agnidhara imagined that her raised breasts were two horns she had covered with cloth, so that others would not see the valuables within them. Agnidhara, however, was very anxious to see them. Therefore he requested, Please uncover them so that I can see what you are carrying. Rest assured that I shall not take it away. If you feel an inconvenience in removing the covering, I can help you. Myself, I can uncover them to see what valuable things those raised horns contain. End quote. He was also surprised to see the red dust of perfumed kunkuma spread over her breasts. Nevertheless, still considering Purvachitti a boy, Agnidhara addressed her as Subhaga, most fortunate Muni. The boy must have been fortunate, otherwise, how simply by standing there could he perfume Agnidhara's entire ashrama. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here is Agnidhara's petitioning Purvachiti to give herself to him. So he is very blatantly describing or glorifying her body. Specifically, yesterday was the eyebrows and the eyes that were shooting glances. And those glances were like sharp pointed arrows. And today he's talking about her breasts and her waist. So in very graphic language, he's wooing her, he's attracting her to accept him. I don't have much purport to say about this. So I thought we will consider from a broader context, a little tangential, if you will, but important. The whole concept of marriage. Now in our Vedas describe, or Vedic system, there are 8 ways of getting married. I'll try to remember all 8 if I can. First is in order of descending importance or purity. The first is that the girl's father approaches the groom-to-be and requests him to marry his daughter. This is considered the purest or the cleanest way. The second is where I may have all the 8 not in the right order. I can't even remember the 8, but we'll go through as many as I remember. Another one is where the girl chooses her own husband. But she chooses it under the jurisdiction or permission of her father. So like the Swayamvara ceremony. There are many suitable young princes, if you will. And the father, he has a particular test that they must pass. And the most suitable person, then she garlands that young prince or whoever, and she chooses her husband. Another is that she chooses her husband without her father's participation in it. Then there is another way of marrying where the man proposes to the woman and they marry. Another is when that marriage happens under the jurisdiction or blessings of both the families, communities, all of that. That is also nice. Another way of marriage is called the Gandharva marriage, where it happens in the forest. There are no witnesses. There's no fire yagya, no brahmanas to sanctify and formalize the wedding. They exchange garlands and they're done. Something like this here. Then there is the Rakshasa wedding. The Rakshasa wedding where the groom can kidnap the bride. So case in point is where Arjuna kidnapped Subhadra, Krishna kidnapped Rukmini, like that. there are situations, and they're valid. For Kshatriyas, it's valid. So there are different, yeah? You remember one more? Yeah, which one? Okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Keep going. Okay. Yeah, drug the girl. Oh, yeah, thank you. Another is to take the girl away against her wishes. Yeah, thank you. So drug her, make her unconscious, and take her away. And they're all valid ways, I believe. Because in Kshatriyas, they do different things. Thankfully, we don't have to get into any of those. We can stick with the father approaching the potential groom. And it's described that in each of these marriages, the quality of children that are born naturally are not the same. Because the consciousness with which the marriage happened is very different in these 8 whatever number of cases. Of course, then there is the whole concept of what is called anuloma and viloma marriages, where the boy and the girl don't even belong to the same varna. A Brahmana boy marries a Kshatriya or lower woman. It's called anuloma marriage. And the viloma marriage is where the girl belongs to a higher varna and the man belongs to a lower varna. So we will contrast this way of marrying, which is Agnidhara's mind is agitated and he is speaking lustfully, speaking in a way that is, to speak to a woman like that is not appropriate. He is bewildered by her beauty, yet Prabhupada says, because of dint of his austerity, he is not making distinction between man and woman. So he may be up there in the sense of his spiritual realization, but is overcome by lust. Contrast this to the way Kardama Muni and Devahuti got married. In the 3rd canto, Kardama Muni was in his ashram, just meditating. And Swayambhuva Manu, his wife Shatarupa Devi, and Devahuti, they came to the scene. And Devahuti didn't speak anything. She just stood there quietly. And the whole conversation happens between Swayambhuva Manu and Kardama Muni. And Swayambhuva Manu offers or requests Kardama Muni to please accept his daughter as his wife. And Kardama Muni accepts, and then he describes her qualities. And it is, if we note carefully, the qualities that he glorifies are not her physical attributes. In fact, he doesn't even look at Devahuti. But he glorifies her qualities. And it's important that the qualities he's glorifying belong to the subtle body and, more importantly, to her as a soul. Subtle body means to glorify someone's mentality, to appreciate someone's intelligence. Glorification of the gross body, in this case, so I'm going to jump between Purvachitti and Agnidhara and Devahuti and Kardama. Okay? So here Agnidhara, he has no clue about her mentality. He has no sense of her subtle body. But he has full sense, if you will, of her gross body. And his whole absorption is in her gross body, and he's glorifying that. So such a marriage, I'm not speaking about Agnidhara or Purvachitti for now. Of course, their 9 very qualified sons. But in general, because most grooms don't perform the kind of austerities that Agnidhara performed. So we're talking about not only not austere, but also, the other features of considering marriage on the basis of bodily principles or parameters. So the bodily, if that's the case, then with time, the bodily features change. And as bodily features change, then the reason why there was a relationship of marriage also will change. That marriage will not have any substance in it. Because when they were young, he looked at her body, he looked at her beautiful face, he looked at her hips. Oh yeah, this would be nice. A few years later, all that changes. Then what? So the very basis of marriage, if it's on bodily features, then that's doomed. That's why we see that modern weddings or marriages, they don't last because there is no substance. The whole sense of attraction is the sweet smile, the nice alluring words, the bodily, signs or symbols of courtship. Oh, wow, I'm in love. Better than that is the subtle body. The mentality, the intelligence, the values that the girl holds on to. These are more important. Now we also know that subtle body changes, just as gross body changes, subtle body changes. So the values or mentality must be on a spiritual foundation. Otherwise, what values she might hold or he might hold at one point in time will change completely. So what's important is the spiritual foundation on the basis of spiritual considerations. Now Devahuti and Kardama Muni, that's the basis of their marriage. So they had the personality of Godhead appear in their household, Lord Kapila. His considerations are not, oh, how does she look? In fact, it's described, he didn't even look at her. But he appreciates her spiritual standing. And he's knowing her, by the dint of his own austerity, he has a sense of her qualities. Now, more important is what's the basis for marriage if the boy doesn't know the girl? Generally, in the modern context, we don't know. So we say, I have to get to know the girl. Or the girl says, I have to get to know the boy. So coming to interacting with each other with a set of bewildered senses and mind, right? We know the 4 defects. Improper senses, can make mistakes, can come under illusion, and there's a cheating propensity. So in such meetings, the cheating propensity is that they put their best behavior forward and they hide certain things about themselves. That's one. Second is the senses are defective. So even if they try to figure out beyond just the bodily considerations, we have no access. Our assessment of someone else's mind and intelligence is usually wrong. I'll give you an example. I was giving a lecture somewhere, and there in the crowd there were many persons, and one of the persons sitting there had a body language that I felt conveyed to me is like, what a boring class. It's like, what are you talking about? That was how I read the whole situation. Their body language was so negative. I wouldn't say they were negative. That's how I perceived it. That they were not interested in what I was saying. And a few weeks later, I met the person again, and the person walked up to me and said, oh, that day it was a very nice class, Prabhu. I was like, wow. Do you like the class? Because your body language was completely, at least the way I perceived, was totally opposite of it. So our tendency to read someone's mind is usually flawed. So getting to know is really a weak criterion, if you will, because you really cannot get to know. On the spiritual side, which we used to call arranged marriages in one time. The spiritual considerations are not on the basis of getting to know the person, but on the basis of what we say higher wisdom. We always rely on higher wisdom. Although we're making our decisions, we rely on higher wisdom. The higher wisdom is Guru, Krishna, the Vaishnavas. They are recommending. So that's a very good criteria. In fact, that's a fail-proof criterion. That the seniors, the community elders, if you will, they have carefully considered the potential groom's mentality. They've considered the potential bride's mentality. They know the families, they know the backgrounds, and they feel that this might be a good match. That's one of the strongest points of considering. And another feature of considering match is each other's steadfastness or connection with their guru and their teachers and elders. Meaning, when situations do happen where there is argument, which by the way, there's always an argument in a householder life. Any householder disagree with that? No. In fact, if a day goes by without argument, you wonder something's wrong. You feel that there's a storm brewing somewhere. Today, if everything is quiet, means tomorrow something's coming up. So when there is submission to authority, then a person, either the husband or the wife, when they have a problem, they will go to the authority. And the authority can say, just be humble in this situation. Or in this case, don't argue. All right. Although my urge is to say something or argue something, because the superiors have said, don't do something, or do something, I will follow that. This is a strong quality by which the marriage is sustained. Otherwise, left to a person who has no submission to authority, or a person who doesn't care for authority, then it's all my mind. Whatever my mind says, that's true. And it must be true. And I don't care what your mind says. Even if you think it's true, what I think is true, and boom, they keep fighting. Or arguing, or feeling uncared for, or feeling not enough empathy or affection in the relationship. It doesn't have to be fighting. There's sometimes after in marriages, after some time, then the husband and wife, they don't find the same affection for each other. They're just living like roommates. They have a few children, so they have to tolerate each other. From loving each other, it settles down to just tolerating. It's all right. Just have to tolerate this situation. But this is not an effective household. Effective household means that the husband and wife are in partnership in contributing to Krishna consciousness, in contributing to the spreading of, to the maintenance of, to the purity of Krishna consciousness within the community. That means the basis is submission to authority. Those qualities stand above all other qualities. There's a situation where a young man was exploring an alliance with a young woman. And they were not married yet, they were getting to know each other, if you will. It was arranged by their superiors. And before marriage, it came to light that the young woman had some medical condition, some ailment. So generally in India or someplace where if you know there is some medical problem, then the marriage conversation breaks down. Finished. No, we don't want to continue. So in this case, the spiritual master asked the young man, it has come to light that this young lady has some medical situation. Do you want to continue further or no? And the young man said, I want to continue because this alliance is being guided by superior authority. And what is the thing about health? If before marriage health was perfectly all right, health by a material feature, it could be that in a few years after marriage, someone's health can go really bad. Right? Anything can happen. So if we rely on physical attributes like health or this or physical beauty or lack of whatever, then what's the basis of that marriage? I want to continue because this young lady is committed to Krishna consciousness. That's important to me. And that is what will sustain through time. Another feature on the basis of which marriages must happen is understanding each other's or appreciating each other's commitment to Krishna consciousness. So, generally an indicator of that commitment is initiation. Someone who has taken the vows of initiation, of course, you don't know future, and anyone can be influenced by Maya, but that's not how we live our life, right? We don't say, what if? Well, but that someone is initiated or someone is working towards that, that's indicator. Oh, this person's a committed. This person can live up to their commitments. That's important because marriage is a commitment. Nowadays, marriage is an arrangement of convenience. Everything is good. I love you, you love me, we'll stay together. And someday that doesn't work out, well, I need to walk out of this thing. Because commitment is weak. The meaning of commitment is that it doesn't matter what the circumstances look like. I am here in this relationship and I'm here to make sure that it works out in whatever way. Of course, if the higher ordainment is that this relationship is not going to work out, then that's Krishna's arrangement. Okay? So that's that about marriages. I want to spend a little time on Krishna's arrangement. It is important that devotees, we understand, when we use these words, Krishna's arrangement, we understand it properly. Generally we say that we are to say, Maharaj uses the phrase, saying yes to Krishna. This is not necessarily saying yes to Krishna's arrangement. Krishna's arrangement can be many things. And in all circumstances, we are saying yes to Krishna. So now I'll explain. And I've said this in the past, but I like this, so I keep saying it. Just because we find ourselves in a circumstance does not mean that we have to accept that circumstance. In the past few days, we've been discussing Haridas Jagadananda Prabhu, very nicely explained the personification of Maya, or prostitute Lakshahira, showing up at Haridas Thakur's house. So Haridas Thakur did not say, wow, Krishna's arrangement. I'm supposed to accept this. And say to Lakshahira, finally, thank you. No. He was saying yes to Krishna, but it's not that he's accepting that situation. Oh, if she has come on her own accord, maybe Krishna wants me to enjoy her. No. So it's important that devotees learn, we all learn, what is the meaning of, in any circumstance, saying yes to Krishna. To say yes to Krishna, we need to have certain criteria on the basis of which we evaluate a circumstance. Or parameters, if you will. The first is, I look to the principles of dharma. If the circumstance is requiring me to violate religious principles, That's an indicator. Whoa. Or, said differently, in this circumstance, how can I exemplify dharmic principles? Generally, there's a confusion. The confusion is, I don't know which principle to apply. Because circumstances call for multiple principles of dharma to be applied. I will narrate with a story also. So therefore we refer to the Vaishnavas. I am in this situation, what should I do? I am seeing it this way, I think these principles might apply. What is your opinion? And the third is to not forget, this is the most important one, that whatever we do is to make sure that Krishna is pleased. For us, practically, if we come in front of Srila Prabhupada, then we should be confident that when we narrate to Srila Prabhupada, this was the situation, this is what I said, this is what I did, that Prabhupada is pleased by it. We know some things that Prabhupada will not be pleased with if we say or do certain things. So what would Prabhupada be pleased with? What would Kishori be pleased with? What would our spiritual master be pleased with? These three considerations help us understand how to respond to circumstances in a way that we say yes to Krishna. The pastime is from the first canto, 7th chapter, Ashwatthama, when he killed the sons of Draupadi. The children, young boys, they were sleeping in their tents. He went in the dead of night, when no one was around, and he cut off their heads. Very, very heinous act. He is the son of a Brahmana. He is also the son of their guru. Yet, he did such a heinous act that forever in history, it is considered severely abominable. In fact, it was so abominable that Ashwatthama went to Duryodhana and conveyed to him, this is what I did for you. You want to guess Duryodhana's response? Duryodhana, who's like the personality of envy and anger and attachment, he told Ashwatthama, get out of here. Don't show me your face. Get out. You've done such a terrible thing. Just get out of here. I don't want to see you. And Ashwatthama knew immediately that there was something severely wrong here. And he knew Arjuna will become very, very angry. So he ran away. When Draupadi saw her dead sons, naturally, mother's affection, she started crying, wailing. And so there was this whole pandemonium and confusion. What's going on? Who did this? So Krishna pulled Arjuna to a side and said, this is Ashwatthama. Arjuna, because of Kshatriya personality, became very angry. And he took a vow. I will kill Ashwatthama today. And he told Draupadi, I will cut off his head just the way he has cut off your sons' heads. And you will stand on that head and offer oblations for your sons. I promise you that. And they were in hot pursuit of Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama naturally was fleeing, but his horses became very tired and he couldn't go further. And Krishna and Arjuna, because Krishna is expert chariot driver, they caught up. And Arjuna captured Ashwatthama, bound him, and dragged him by his hair and brought him in front of Draupadi. And true to his promise, he raised his sword, ready to chop off Ashwatthama's head. And he looked to Krishna. Krishna didn't say yes, but Krishna didn't say no. Krishna said to him, so Arjuna, he knows this is a Brahmana. So killing a Brahmana is a very, very, very severe offense. Killing a cow, or killing a Brahmana. Yani kani cha papani, brahma hatyadikani cha. We offer prayers to Tulsi Devi, that please be merciful to us. You're very kind even to a killer of a Brahmana. But it's described you can never kill a Brahmana. So he looked for confirmation towards Krishna. Krishna didn't say yes, he didn't say no. He told him, it wouldn't be wrong. You would not violate religious principle if you killed him. Because he has not acted as a Brahmana, he has acted as a Brahmabandhu. So you will not incur sin if you killed him. He didn't say yes, do it. He didn't say no. Then Draupadi came running and said, Muchatam, Muchatam, release him please. And said, please don't kill him, because I am a mother and I am crying for the loss of my sons. And his mother, Droni, she will also cry because her son got killed. As the mother's affection, I can empathize with how his mother will feel. Please don't kill. Bhima walks into this scene and he says, kill him right now. Bhima is superior and he is following religious principle. She is also following religious principle of compassion, forgiveness. Then the personification of forgiveness, Yudhishthir Maharaj walked in and he said, let him go. So what to do? So many superiors are giving him opinions and they're all on the basis of dharma. But Arjuna, because he was a mature devotee, he knew what to do. So he shaved off the jewel, cut off the hair, the jewel in his hair. Ashwatthama had a very special jewel in his hair. Cut it off, made him bereft of all his Brahmanical potency and prowess, insulted him and released him. So by this principle, insult or infamy is more humiliating or more painful than death. So in one sense he killed him, and in another sense he did not kill him. And he perfectly maintained everyone's instruction. So it requires that one should know what will please Krishna. Arjuna knew, because in the verses after that, it is described that Krishna was testing Arjuna. So as devotees, Krishna's arrangement means Krishna puts us in circumstances that to test how we are applying what we are hearing. These are opportunities for application. He is also looking to take us to the next level of Krishna consciousness. When we apply ourselves properly, then Krishna says, very good, here, now you apply at this level. And if for some reason we mess up or make mistakes, then Krishna gives us repeated situations till we learn that lesson. Now I get it. This is how Krishna participates along with the Guru to train us in our refinement of consciousness. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasada. The Guru's prasada, mercy, is instruction. Krishna's prasad is the circumstances. So this is how Guru and Krishna work as a tag team to help us elevate ourselves in our Krishna consciousness. And so when we make decisions in life, they should be carefully considered. Because marriage, now I'm connecting the two, marriage, job, association, where we live, these kinds of things, these are very dramatic, very significant decisions of our lives. And ideally, they should be done with proper instruction. Because one decision that was not properly considered, like marriage per se, if it's not properly considered, if it's not properly guided, the rest of our life depends on the health of our marriage, if you will. Or we move from one association to another association. If it's not thoughtfully considered, if it's not guided by Guru, if it's not done on the basis of proper Krishna consciousness, the rest of our Krishna conscious life will be affected by that association. Like that. So that's what I've been thinking as been reading Agnidhara's situation. And any questions, comments? Karunanidhi Prabhu, if you can get him a mic, please. Question?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I remember one instance in Chaitanya Charitamrita. That is Ramananda Rai. I forgot another name. Who was that? He came to Lord Chaitanya.
Pradyumna Mishra.
Yes, right, Pradyumna Mishra. That he came to Lord Chaitanya. He asked, "Can you tell me about the Krishna?" So, no, but Lord Chaitanya said, "I don't know about Krishna, but better if you go to Ramananda Rai, he can explain you better." But when he went to Ramananda Rai, then that Ramananda Rai was
massaging the bodies of the Devadasis.
Yes, two young girls and in the mood of gopis. So he was not able to distinguish what is a boy or girl.
Correct.
Similarly, this
very nice. Thank you. Nice. To turn the, I guess, topic further, when Shukadev Goswami left home from his ashram and walked away, Vyasadeva was pursuing his son. "Oh, please come back, please come back." And Shukadeva Goswami was a young boy, 16-year-old, very physically well-formed. There were pictures of Shukadeva Goswami, well-formed body, muscular, effulgent like anything, long locks of hair, very attractive features, but was naked and he was walking. And there was a pond in which young girls were also bathing naked. When they saw Shukadeva Goswami walk by, they didn't feel anything. They just, let him walk by. As soon as Vyasadeva came, they covered their bodies. Not that Vyasadeva is any lusty or anything. It was a glorification of Shukadeva Goswami that he's on the Brahman platform. For him, man, woman, that distinction didn't exist. Like that. Thank you. Bhakta Richard.
Hare Krishna. My question is, in Brahmachari ashram, we can have a certain level of intimacy, a very high level of intimacy with our fellow
Brahmacharis.
Right. And I wanted to know if culturally that's acceptable to have that level of intimacy with a woman, or if there is certain, because the way I've always heard Grihastha ashram presented shastrically from one specific source is that it sounds like there is, a lot of boundaries by nature. So I wanted to know about if it's a foolish notion that one could have as intimate of a relationship with a woman as they can in the Brahmachari ashram. That's my
Of
question.
course. So a little cultural context. In the West, the word intimacy means on the physical level. No, I understood. That's not what you're saying, but I want to, since I'm covering a broad range here. In the Western sense of things, Western, or say modern, I think Western, it doesn't apply anymore. Modern applies, because everywhere is the West, right? The West is everywhere. If you go from West from here, you cover the whole globe. In the modern context, intimacy has a connotation on the physical plane. But real intimacy is on the mental, emotional, and actually on the spiritual plane. The intimacy on the spiritual plane is that we are all parts and parcels of Krishna. And then we have a unique, inviolable relationship with Krishna, each one of us. To relate at that level is the real intimacy. There are intimacies on the emotional and mental level, of course, which also is recommended by Rupa Goswami. Dadati pratigrinati is on the physical level. And then he says, Guhyamakyati pritchati. This Guhyamakyati pritchati means, Guhya means the things from our heart, the inner, deeper things in our heart, that we feel the closeness of the other person, that we can say and share and ask. So a wife and husband relationship is meant to be Guhyamakyati pritchati. It is supposed to be like that. Otherwise, there is no, they say, no priti in the relationship, no love, no affection. But if the affection is only on the physical plane, then there is no Guhyamakyati. You understand? Then it's inside something, physically something else. Meaning emotionally not connected, but physically connected. That's a formula for disaster. Physically connected, not just like in sexual way. Physically connected means in the same place, in the same room, in the same house. But they can be on different orbits of mentalities. Like there's no connection. They live like roommates. What's the commitment to a roommate? Not much. Then they just share responsibilities. You do that, I do this. And the household continues. They divvy up. They distribute the chores that need to be done. Or you go, you earn money, you take care of this, you take care of that. I take care of this and I take care of that, and we call that a marriage. No. Commitment is there that we want the welfare of the other person. So I am living as a husband or I am living as a wife committed to the other person's welfare and Krishna consciousness. That is marriage or intimacy in a relationship. Anyone else? Oh, Acharya, Mr. Luke, Jitendra Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. I had a question. Sometimes in a difficult circumstance, it can be difficult to distinguish whether it's, like you were saying, Krishna's arrangement or our inability to access the spiritual platform or the descending mercy. So I'm wondering how we can distinguish, or if we need to distinguish, how to see those situations.
Well, not necessary to distinguish. One, because we cannot. But what's important is how do we respond to those situations. That's important. That's what, I guess, separates the men from the boys, if you will. That here's the situation, what would be pleasing to Krishna? Here's the situation, how can I demonstrate or express my commitment to Krishna in this situation? That's what is a devotee's consideration, regardless of whether Krishna orchestrated it or it came by karmic, the modes of nature. Directly or indirectly, Krishna is still the arranger. Yeah? Jitendra Prabhu.
Speaking on relationships, I had this experience. I was in Jagannath Puri and I met this husband and wife, and they had a little kid, and they seemed to be, really happy and stuff. And then when the husband we were walking along the beach, and he says, me and my wife, we really can't stand each other, but we're together for the children.
Right.
And so that says a lot of marriages they're just looking
tolerating
for the benefit of the children.
They're just tolerating for the sake of the children.
Yeah.
If the children were not there, they would have hit the eject button long ago.
Would you say that would be pretty pervasive all over?
Yeah. A good marriage is not that wife and husband are together. A good marriage is that they are serving each other for pleasing Krishna. And they are looking out for each other's welfare in Krishna consciousness. That is a good marriage. Like the bottommost is that they're at least together. Bhakta Luke had a question.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Thank you for the class. You were discussing just now the Guhya Makyati Puchiti, the loving exchanges, kind of disclosing one's mind. I found some people have an easier time with this than other people.
Yeah.
But it seems to be a very important aspect of Krishna consciousness
Yes.
and of relationships.
Yes.
So what is it that is causing difficulty for some persons to practice this?
Many reasons. First of all, generally, this is not always the case, generally, men don't speak what's inside. They don't connect so well to their feelings. Not all men, generally. Comes with the body. Okay. There are many reasons, and it's almost as unique as the person. But if you were to group them, you could group them by past experiences or fear of judgment or not enough, not a full sense of care and love that others will understand me, or just a material conception. Men shouldn't be into all this. Men don't cry like that. It's nothing like that. Our acharyas are crying all the time. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes the song, I'm running after you, calling Krishna, Krishna, and I'm crying. Narottam Das Thakur says, I'm going to hit my head against a rock and I'm crying. Lord Chaitanya was always tears of ecstasy. But it's a conception. It's a conception, a sociological, a cultural, a role, gender-specific conceptions that we carry. I like to call it biases. Bias. When we come into Krishna consciousness, that day during one of the lectures, Ashraya Prabhu was also, as part of the Q&A, he was mentioning, we bring our biases. He used different language, but we also bring our biases into Krishna consciousness. And we operate on those biases. Gender roles, cultural nuances, what I think is real welfare, all that biases we bring. So when we read scripture, we should be careful that we read scripture and apply scripture without those biases. And as long as the biases are there, we'll find a little friction in our application, some little spark that, things are not okay. In this case, Agnidhra, one cannot say Agnidhra is doing Guhya Makyati. Although he is revealing what is his problem. This is not Guhya Makyati. This is bodily thing. He's being driven by lust. Real Guhya Makyati, and I'm not, who am I to speak about King Agnidhra? That's not the point here. I'm not judging King Agnidhra. But an application of that would be that King Agnidhra would have gone to his guru or someone and say that my heart is afflicted with lust. Can you help me? That is Guhya Makyati. This is acting out that lust. Okay. And it's important to do. It's very, very important to do. So, now that is on the side of those who are finding it difficult to express the Guhya Makyati. For us, now on the other side, as members of a community or an ashram, it is very important that we also contribute to an environment that is free of judgment. We contribute to an environment where it welcomes others to reveal their heart by we ourselves revealing our heart. You set an example, you create an environment, you create a culture, so others will feel safe, sheltered, secure, so they can reveal. If that's not there, it's impossible to do. Ashraya Gokulananda, where is 8:35? You have time for one last, so between you two, you flip a coin.
Okay, regarding your example of Haridas Thakur,
Mm-hmm.
Not seeing the lady coming to his cave as Krishna's arrangement, because
No, my point was not Krishna's arrangement. My point was accepting every circumstance as, Krishna's arrangement. Meaning, I should accept this situation because it is Krishna's arrangement. That's a wrong way of thinking.
yes, if Haridas Thakur would say, "Oh, this is Krishna's arrangement," maybe I have to
Accept
marry
her. Yeah.
That. So then Purvachiti,
Urvachiti,
is coming to
Agnidra. It was Lord Brahma's arrangement.
Yeah, no, he accepts her.
That's correct.
But the difference is that Haridas Thakur was pursuing renunciation, and Purvachiti, Agnidra was pursuing. He actually was meditating.
Correct.
He wanted that.
He
was
wanted that.
doing austerity for that.
Correct.
So my thought or maybe question, you can elaborate, is that when, according to our goals in life,
Mm-hmm.
set for us or standard in life,
Correct.
then we see the external situation as Christian arrangement or not. So sometimes, but if we have a specific goal and a situation comes to us that may be favorable for our goal, then we may call that, that's Christian's arrangement. So that's one thing, and another thing is if we don't have any goal, then everything can be Christian's arrangement. For example,
Right.
I don't have nothing to do this weekend, and someone called me and said, "Do you want to come to New York?"
Las Vegas.
Oh, let's go. But if I have some commitment or something, so if you can elaborate.
Sure. Good point. I came running up from the kitchen, so I didn't get my Bhagavatam for going back and forth. But thank you for bringing it up because it's part of that piece that I missed out. Not only goal, more accurately speaking, it's not on the basis of goal, it's on the basis of desires that we are cultivating. Because, just for sake of argument, Ladini Shakti brought up the reference of Bharat Maharaj. His goal was very clear. But the deer that came in, his desires changed. So the desires that we are cultivating in our heart, that is what we will see outside. So although Krishna may make an arrangement, our vision of that situation is colored by or influenced by the condition of our heart. So Haridas Thakur, because the condition of his heart was squeaky pure, he knew exactly what to do. So what is inside, said differently, what is inside manifests outside. And Krishna is showing us, this is what's in your heart, this is what's in your heart, this is what's in your heart. And it is up to us to take the higher road. The higher road is on the basis of instructions of Guru and Sadhu and Shastra. Although this is my desire that I'm manifesting, I take the higher principle. This is the application in Krishna consciousness that's important.
Say that by following instructions, we rise above
Absolutely.
our desires.
Yeah, that is Krishna consciousness. That is Krishna's instruction to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhava Arjuna. You should transcend the influence of the modes of nature. So how to transcend? What do we hold on to? We hold on to higher instruction. That's what helps us transcend. On our own we cannot. We don't have the capacity to perceive a situation from the vantage point of transcendence. It's the instruction that gives us the higher vantage point. Or even more specifically, is the relationship with Guru. Many people get instruction, but without relationship with Guru, that instruction cannot be applied. Instructions everyone has, but application comes from relationship. My Guru would like me to apply this, therefore it's inconvenient for me, I don't like it, whatever is that thing, or I love it. The consideration is my Guru has given me this instruction. The Vaishnavas have given. The relationship gives the empowerment to look at things from a higher perspective. Okay? 8:40. You want to comment something quickly? Doesn't have to be quickly, but you can comment something.
Thank you. I know you didn't want to take any other questions or anything. I just thought this was an important point, at least for my application. I think it's really important. I'm reading Bhaktivinoda Thakur is talking about how householders specifically, he's talking about, can avoid the contamination of bad association. It applies for everybody, I guess. But I was thinking about also the way Srila Prabhupada describes the 6 loving exchanges in the Nectar of Instruction. Very specifically, this is not like an exclusive statement following from that, but very specifically he talks about with pure devotees. The purpose here also is for developing proper character. You take that association, not to say that we shouldn't do that with other devotees, but I mean it's tempting because it makes us feel good to associate lovingly with everyone the same way, but actually it's not proper, I think.
Right.
Although we should be kind and gentle, especially in the association of devotees, the level at which we invest our heart, I think, you please say more wisely and properly what I'm trying to say, if you would. The level of investment of our feelings and all of that needs to be metered out according to the person with whom we're associating. So if I'm talking with, person A on the stairs and yada, 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 and I'm talking with, devotee B in the prasadam hall, and one of them is a superior who's instructing me and the other one is new bhakta, yada yada, there has to be some application point there for us to. It's not that that person's going to drag me down into a hellish condition of life or something.
No, I understand.
Necessarily. It's just if I go on like that, my direction of my focus is not exactly proper, I think.
Guhyamakyati pritchati does not mean that I vomit all my problems to everybody I meet, saying, here, Guhyamakyati. That's not what it means. So thank you for, refining it. But Guhyamakyati is with every devotee. The degree of, detail might change. With a brand new bhakta on the steps of the temple or ashram, the Guhyamakyati Prachiti would be, when I was new, I also struggled with something like this. Or even if after so many years of practice, humility is always a challenge. That is Guhyamakyati. At least you're not saying, oh, don't worry, when you come to me, like me, you'll be fine. It's not like that. It's still Guhyamakyati. But when we're with a superior, we can say, in this situation, that's what they said, this is how I felt, and I was really struggling with being humble. The specificity might change, but the principle remains that Guhyamakyati Prichati is important for developing relationships. And accordingly will be the depth of relationships also. So we can be friendly with everyone, and then there are very, in his language, intimate relationships. They're all in the purview of Priti Lakshanam, that there is friendship. Okay, 8:45. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Bhakta Luke, can you turn it up?